all the principles I have studied across 40 years of research into the nature of human achievement, there is one principle more misunderstood, more avoided, and more rarely applied in its true form than any other. And in my considered judgment, it is one of the most powerful. I want to speak to you tonight about a force every human being possesses in extraordinary abundance. A force that the greatest achievers in history, consciously or unconsciously, learn to channel into the service of their highest work. A force so powerful that entire civilizations have been built around its influence. Entire wars fought because of it. Entire lives transformed through its proper direction or destroyed through its misuse. I am speaking about the emotion of sex. And more specifically, I am speaking about the transmutation of that emotion into creative, productive, achievement-driving power. Now listen carefully before your mind misunderstands what I mean. I do not speak about this subject sensationally, not as entertainment, not as controversy. I speak about it with the seriousness of a man who has observed a pattern so consistent across the lives of great achievers that it cannot honestly be ignored. The most successful men and women I studied were people of tremendous emotional intensity, people who burned with life, people whose energy was unmistakable when you stood near them, people whose presence filled rooms before they even spoke. And at the center of that intensity, without exception, existed powerful sexual energy, not merely physical desire, vitality, drive, emotional fire, the force of life itself moving strongly through them. And what separated the great achiever from the ordinary man was not the presence of this energy. Every man possesses it. The difference was direction. The ordinary man dissipated the energy. The extraordinary man channeled it. That process of channeling is called transmutation, not suppression, not denial, not celibacy. Transmutation, the redirection of the most powerful human emotion into the service of achievement. Now let us begin by understanding the nature of this force. The emotion of sex is the most powerful of all human emotions. No other emotion drives human behavior with equal intensity. A man under the influence of this emotion will work harder, risk more, endure more, and persist longer than under almost any other motivating force. This tells us something critically important, not merely about the expression of the emotion, about the energy of it. Because if this force can produce extraordinary persistence and effort in pursuit of physical expression, imagine what happens when the same force is redirected toward a definite purpose. The energy remains the same, the intensity remains the same, the persistence remains the same. Only the direction changes. That is transmutation. A river is not made powerful by being stopped. It is made powerful by being directed. A river flooding randomly destroys. A river channeled deliberately generates electricity. Sexual energy works the same way. The undirected man dissipates it endlessly. The disciplined man channels it. And the disciplined man eventually develops levels of creativity, magnetism, persistence, and productivity the undirected man cannot understand. Now let me tell you what I observed repeatedly in the great achievers I studied. These men were not emotionally muted. They were not cold, not detached, not lifeless intellectuals operating only from logic. They burned with enthusiasm, with emotional intensity, with powerful desire. And they brought that intensity into their work, their businesses, their inventions, their missions, their art, their leadership. This is why the great achiever often possesses unusual charisma. People feel his energy before they fully understand him intellectually, because transmuted energy creates magnetism. The man who channels powerful emotional force toward a meaningful purpose becomes attractive to opportunity, to people, to resources, and to influence. Not magically, energetically, psychologically, practically. People respond to life force. They always have. Now let me explain how transmutation works practically. First, the emotion of sex intensifies desire. It amplifies whatever purpose already exists in the mind. This is why definite purpose matters so deeply. Because sexual energy does not create direction. It magnifies existing direction. The man with no purpose simply experiences undirected desire. The man with purpose experiences intensified purpose. This is why great achievers often worked with extraordinary obsession. Their emotional intensity amplified their vision continuously. Now let us speak about imagination. Because the emotion of sex strongly stimulates creative imagination. The man operating in a state of high emotional vitality experiences enhanced creativity. Ideas arrive more rapidly. Connections appear more clearly. Solutions emerge unexpectedly. This is not mysticism. It is observable reality. The nervous system itself becomes more energized, more responsive, more creatively alive. The emotionally flat man rarely produces extraordinary imagination. Great creativity requires emotional intensity, and the emotion of sex is nature's strongest emotional stimulant. Now let me tell you something extraordinary. Many of the greatest inventions, works of art, businesses, and movements in human history emerged during periods when their creators experienced intense emotional vitality. The great builders burned internally while building externally. Now listen carefully. Transmutation is not repression. Repression weakens the mind, weakens the nervous system, weakens vitality. Transmutation strengthens. Because the energy continues flowing, only the direction changes. The man who represses desire becomes rigid. The man who channels desire becomes powerful. This distinction matters enormously. Now let us speak about persistence. Because transmuted energy fuels persistence in extraordinary ways. The man whose emotional intensity supports his purpose wants success differently than the ordinary man. Not casually, hungrily. And hunger sustains effort through difficulty. The emotionally flat man quits faster. The emotionally charged Hutch man continues. This is why many great achievers appear almost unreasonable in their persistence. Their emotional fuel burns hotter. Now let me speak about magnetism, because the transmuted man becomes magnetic, not merely confident, alive. People feel it. His speech carries force. His presence carries intensity. His ideas carry conviction. This is one of the hidden reasons leadership emerges naturally around certain individuals. Their energy itself influences others, and transmuted sexual energy is one of the primary sources of that influence. Now let me give you the practical process. First, develop a definite purpose. Without purpose, energy scatters. The mind must know exactly what it is building, specifically, clearly. Emotion requires direction. Second, become conscious of your energy. Most men operate unconsciously. Impulse controls them. Reaction controls them. Transmutation begins with awareness, the recognition that emotional energy exists and can be directed deliberately. Third, redirect energy immediately toward creation, toward work, toward solving problems, toward building, toward writing, toward leading, toward designing, toward producing. The moment emotional intensity rises, consciously move that force into productive channels. This must become habit. Fourth, protect your imagination. The transmuted mind requires strong mental environments, music, reading, mastermind associations, inspiring goals, purposeful conversations. All of these strengthen creative transmutation. Now let me speak about dissipation. Because dissipation is the enemy of transmutation. The man who constantly spends emotional energy without discipline weakens creative force. His nervous system becomes overstimulated but underdirected. His mind loses sharpness, his persistence weakens, his imagination dulls. Again, this is not morality, it is mechanics. Energy spent endlessly in scattered directions loses concentrated power. The disciplined man conserves enough emotional force to fuel achievement. Now let me speak about love. Because love combined with transmuted sexual energy creates extraordinary force. Sex alone generates intensity. Love alone generates devotion. Together they create inspired purpose. The man building for someone he deeply loves often reaches levels of persistence and creativity ambition alone cannot produce. Love gives meaning. Sex gives energy. Purpose gives direction. Together they become transformational. Now let me tell you about the 10 mind stimulants. The first and strongest is the emotion of sex. The second is love. The third is a burning desire for achievement. The fourth is music. The fifth is friendship between strong minds. The sixth is the mastermind alliance. The seventh is shared struggle. The eighth is autosuggestion. The ninth is constructive fear. And the 10th is artificial stimulation through alcohol or narcotics. But listen carefully. The 10th destroys more than it builds. Artificial stimulation creates temporary elevation, followed by deeper weakness. Avoid it completely. Cultivate the others instead. Now let me speak directly to the man listening tonight. You possess enormous emotional energy already. The question is not whether the energy exists. The question is where it is going. Is it strengthening your purpose or weakening your discipline? Is it fueling your creativity or dissipating through endless distraction? Be honest, not ashamed, honest, because awareness begins transformation. Now listen carefully. The man who masters transmutation does not become less alive. He becomes more alive, more creative, more magnetic, more productive, more persistent, more visionary, because the most powerful force in his nature finally receives intelligent direction. Now let me tell you something most men never understand. Sexual energy and creative energy are deeply connected. The same life force that creates physical life also creates ideas, businesses, art, movements, leadership, and transformation when directed toward those ends. Creation itself is the underlying principle. This is why many great creators operated with unusual emotional intensity. They were channeling creation itself. Now let me challenge you directly. Stop treating your emotional intensity as a distraction from your purpose. It may be the fuel your purpose has been missing. Channel it, discipline it, aim it, do not fear it, use it. Now let me close with this. The complete man is not a man without passion. The complete man is a man whose passion serves his purpose. A man whose emotional intensity strengthens his vision instead of scattering it. A man who has learned that the strongest forces in human nature are not enemies of achievement. They are engines of achievement when disciplined properly. Build that man. One decision at a time, one disciplined action at a time, one redirected impulse at a time. Because whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And the man who fuels his purpose with the full force of his transmuted nature becomes extraordinarily difficult to stop. Use the energy, channel the fire, and go build the life you were meant to build.